Good morning, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another Star Trek episode review here on NerdTube. We are here tonight talking about the season finale of Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 10, Hegemony. It would not be a NerdTube review here about Star Trek if I was not joined by my Trekkies in arms. To my right, I have Zam.
How you
you?
doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. Doing good. Very much looking forward to talking about this.
As am I. It's a lot to talk about this week. I know I say that a lot, but it's really true this week. And up above us to my right is also Zam.
Yes, I am Zam number 2. Goddamn name thing.
How are you this evening, sir? And
Oh, I'm good. Just ready to talk about this episode.
yeah, it's season finale and a bit of a cliffhanger in proud Trek tradition. And I, you know, we could go ahead and start with some overall thoughts if you guys want. We'll start with you down below, Zam.
Um, I like this episode. This is kind of like the sort of vibe I wanted from Strange New Worlds, pretty much, and we got it in this episode. I do, and we are talking spoilers, just so people know. I am obviously a bit bummed out with the cliffhanger ending because even though I do support the kind of strikes that are going on at this moment in time, God knows when we'll see season 3 because they haven't even filmed it yet.
Yeah.
So
I think they filmed
why-
it, didn't they?
that's what I've heard. I mean, I've been hearing different things, but
Yeah, I think Strange New World season 3 is already filmed. I think they wrapped filming before the strike, but I'll double check that.
I hope so.
Our researcher,
really
our
do.
man in the chair on it.
Yeah, but a decent episode. We got to see a lot of the budget in this episode as well, and without doubt, the villain of this particular series of Star Trek, the Gorn, who've really expanded more than ever. And it's really good to see what they've become and getting to see tidbits about them and stuff. Yeah, it was a great episode. I liked it a lot. Not perfect, but I liked it a lot.
Definitely some good points there. It is after getting hyped up in season or episode 1 and seeing them in season 1, and then I'm sorry, I misspoke. Having them mentioned in episode 1 of season 2. It's good to finally get back to them. All right, number 2, what were your overall thoughts?
I love this episode. I thought I honestly kind of wished it was I kind of wish that this happened earlier in the season, but I get why they did it here because they were able to pull the cliffhanger. And that's fine. As I said, I'm completely, I mean, Trek is known for their cliffhangers. I don't blame them for not doing one in season 1 just because season 1, they don't know if it's going to track very well, but now that the season 1 was a hit and they're into season 2, they're like, okay, we can do a cliffhanger because we know we're getting a season 3. So I'm very, very happy with what they've done here. I'm very interested to see what they do with the Gorn because the Gorn is just something they haven't delved into very much in Trek other than Enterprise with that CGI hack job that they did, in one, and it was a Mirror Universe episode anyway. And then TOS, which, I mean, it's a product of the time. I'm not knocking that, but I'm just like, you go back and watch it now and you're like, I kind of wish they would just like CGI the one Gorn out or something. I don't know.
Pull a special edition on it.
Yeah.
Override it with overlay the new Gorn.
Yeah, I was just thinking that with Jabba. Yeah.
But no,
I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I enjoyed, I know a lot of the classic Trek fans are gonna be like, oh, this isn't Star Trek. Blah, blah, blah. I have always been a fan of the Dominion.
They would say that,
huh?
Is it because of the pew pews? I mean, Star Trek has got plenty of that, by the way.
I know.
They say that every week. It seems like.
Yeah, they do. They really just they find. I mean, case in point last week, just kind of find something to complain about, really. So I mean, as I said, the musical episode wasn't abysmal, but it wasn't like I only had one issue with it, and that was just the premise. While everyone else had an issue with just stupid stuff. And I'm not saying their opinion's stupid. I'm just saying it just seems very silly for them to have those. But anyway, the issues with those little things. But yeah, so I really like this episode. I thought it was a really good lead up to a suspense. And actually, I'm kind of glad they did what they did with Pike, because Pike is not a wartime captain. Like, if we think about it, Pike was sidelined during the Klingon War. So he is not used to all of a sudden, hey, shit's hitting the fan. And I know he has Starfleet training and blah, 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 blah. So I can see that end of it. But I really like the fact that he kind of froze and he's like, I have no idea what to do. And I kind of hope either Una or Ortega's or even Mbega, if he's on actually all of them are on the Gorn ship. So none of them can really kind of jump in. But sorry, I digress. That's later on in the episode, but
No, we'll get there for sure, and we can talk about it more at that point. But it will be good to see, if they do this right, we could see a character-defining moment for the character of Pike, and I think that would be very interesting. And I think that Anson Mount, if given, some really good meaty stuff, could knock it out of the park. He really sold that deer in the headlights look tonight. Like,
yeah, for sure.
heavily.
Like, this is beyond my knowledge. And yeah, it was good. This is got a comment here from Daniel Watts. Welcome back, my friend.
Yay!
Very aliens, no doubt. I mean,
whenever the Gorn's involved, it is very aliens.
In every aspect, yeah. And they kind of remind me of Velociraptors. In like, I think when we saw that one Gorn in the spacesuit, it looked like a fucking Velociraptor in the spacesuit. Great music, great, like you almost feel like there's like a eerie, almost smiling, murderous expression on the Velociraptor, and I kind of saw that a little bit in that Gorn.
Well, that's the first time we're seeing an adult Gorn.
Yeah,
like in this show, because the last time we just saw babies on the one ship.
And earlier in the episode, until that point, that was our first exposure, and we didn't really fully see the adult Gorn.
Yep. Yeah, I know they're still kind of holding out on like the full frontal, but because he was still in the outfit. But we saw enough of him. I mean, you can kind of figure out what he looks like at this point.
You can adjust the dial a little bit and dial back the static a little bit if you're not subbed to the premium, to the premium channel.
Sorry, finishing off here, but the episode lacked something in the secret source to feel powerfully coherent. Yeah, I agree. That's why it's a two-parter, I guess. We'll see how it ends, I guess. So, but yeah, it is to a degree. This is classic Star Trek to end a season on a cliffhanger.
Well, the other thing I was very worried about is the way they started this episode. I thought that we were going to get the misunderstood Gorn episode. You know what I mean? Like, I really thought that it was going to be a different race that was kind of framing the Gorn.
I'm glad they didn't go that
That's
route.
what's the concerning thing.
Well, it's normally what they with an allegory that they do is like, we assume, because Pike said earlier in the episode, he said, they're monsters.
Monster line.
Yeah, and it's just like, so that's why my first clue was, so we're just basically saying we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, blah, blah, like that whole trope. And I'm glad they did not lean into that. I mean, not that, being racist, like racist in a sci-fi sense is good, but at the same time, the Gorn have proven themselves to be quite formidable monsters.
Yeah, they're definitely to be respected and feared. But we've got the whole part to come in season 3, episode 1. So they could end up using that line to still set up an allegory that they conclude with a peaceful resolution. Then I think that maybe the coronal mass ejections that got mentioned later in the episode might tie into that some. But no, it was overall a good episode. Held my attention really well, a lot better than the past few episodes. Pacing I felt was on point, and just
Perfect. Yeah.
good episode. I felt like was good blend of science and action and a little bit of philosophy and the weight of command. Just all the things that you like and want out of Trek in one package.
I do love how we've been seeing a lot of, what was the other captain's name? Pike's
Batel.
girlfriend?
Yeah.
No, what's the other ship?
Batel. Oh, the Cayuga?
The Cayuga, that's it. I love how we've been seeing the Cayuga a lot recently, like in the past, this season, and now it's just gone. Like it's just completely gone.
Yeah, it's. I don't call it the Cayuga. I call it the Yippee-ki-yay, and it's gone, literally.
Oh yeah, it just went full blown generations.
I like that. I mean, when we get to, I like that whole scene.
It was cool.
I did too.
All right. Well, speaking of getting to it, with all that being said, do we want to hop into a quick play-by-play? Stop me when you.
I just want to add that one of the good things about this episode as well was the fact that at the very beginning you kind of thought, okay, it's gonna be one of these episodes, but then it went totally 180 very early. Like, wow, we're going in a whole different direction now. Like,
I mean, I knew what this episode was about by the name. Like when I saw the name, I knew exactly what. I mean, I knew there was going to be Gorn involvement. Remember last week when I looked up the episode, I said, "Oh, I know what next week's episode is going to be about."
Yep.
Yeah, and this is why I'm glad I wasn't spoiled, because I thought we were going to go one direction and then we went the other direction, and so yeah.
Zam, you liked it because the Gorn tried that in a small town, and man, did they get away with it.
No, but the point is, I thought it would be one of those small town episodes where, like, I thought this episode was about a planet that we might have seen before in maybe Enterprise or TOS, and or maybe even.
I know
in
it was
TNG.
A joke about Jason Aldean, man. It's okay.
I'm sorry. All right, let's go.
You're the one who talks about Jason Aldean. How do you not know that?
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
I think he was just trying to finish his thought in a serious manner, but I think I see what you were saying, Sam.
Yeah.
All right. So this episode started with Batel's log. Like Cheeto said, we see the Cayuga again this week. They're outside Federation space at the colony planet Parnassus Beta, which operates on the small town model. So it has this Midwestern U.S. aesthetic.
Which is interesting because I've never heard that before in Trek. Like they've never talked about there being different models
for the
models of colonies.
But it would make sense. Not everybody would want to do things the same way.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Colonizing groups would have different ideals and philosophies. I mean, you've seen we saw the Puritan type ones before.
Okay, everybody, we got our small town over here, colony ship, and this colony ship over here is where all the KKK go. This one back here is.
Well, for me, I felt to myself, I've seen this type of shit before, where you have an alien planet replicating, Middle America, or something like that.
The weird fake out.
And I think
were there any aliens there? Wouldn't it have been hilarious? It's like an Andorian walking around and like this, like in normal 20th century clothing or something like that, like
a sect of Andorians that got obsessed with Earth culture.
Wasn't that episode of Enterprise where a whole bunch of humans got kidnapped or by aliens and they got transported to another planet and they started their own?
Yes,
basically.
Yes. And they ended up.
I thought that was the planet
that abducted them. No, that would have been a cool tie back. But
yeah,
it seems like this was a new planet this week. So they're there to help with vaccines and to stabilize their agricultural efforts. Chapel's with them on the surface helping out since she's hitching a ride to her fellowship. Pike calls and talks to Captain Batel, saying that he misses her, but the comms cut off suddenly, and we see a shuttle crash, and then suddenly a huge ship appears in the sky, like Zam was saying, the budget on full display. We cut to the Enterprise. they receive a distress call from Captain Battelle. She's saying that the Gorn attacked and they set course. Uhura gets the Captain Admiral April on the comms, and he orders no intervention, reconnaissance only, and kind of cautions, Pike about how they want to avoid a war, questions if he's going to let his feelings for Captain Battelle color his judgment.
You know what? I don't think it was going to happen at all. I mean, I never. This is another one of those situations where it's like when Picard, or like when they kind of sidelined Picard against the Borg. Like they made the right. I'm trying to think. They made the right call this episode to at least let him go. Rather than what Starfleet did in First Contact, they were trying to sideline Picard, and honestly, sidelining Picard is one thing. Sidelining the ship is a whole other thing. You know what I mean? So, like, in First Contact, they should have sidelined Picard, but not the ship. But instead, they just sidelined the whole ship. So
right. And
so I just want to.
Go for it.
Dana Van says the best store on the planet is named Store. Every building was so generic. Yes, that's because the Federation did not want to have to pay royalties to any of these, big chains back on Earth. So,
well, part of the problem is this isn't a Federation colony. They're outside of Fed space, and these people are on the fence.
No, that's what I'm saying. They didn't want to. Yeah. Okay. Well, then they didn't want to pay the Federation royalties. There you go.
There we go.
I really want to see the Cayuga full or part entering the atmosphere on fire rather than the Gorn ship. It has been far too more. What? Wait. I really want to see the Cayuga full or part entering atmosphere on fire rather than the Gorn ship. It would have been far more powerful. I don't understand.
Like, he's saying that if that was what happened instead, and we knew, like, we saw that the ship had been destroyed and was entering the atmosphere before we knew what the threat was, it would have had more of an impact of this feeling of, oh God, what's happening?
But then what would they have hit the thing with later on then? You know what I mean? Like,
this is true.
I mean, they could have had the saucer section come down, and then they could have aimed the battle section at it. Like maybe there was a big
drive
part
section.
The drive section.
A cell. A nacelle would have been big enough to get the job done properly.
Maybe
I don't think
there's
it would burn up completely.
Maybe there's a little bit of antimatter left in the warp core, and they, and then they use that to kind of just incinerate the little jammer thing. Like there's not enough to make a full on antimatter explosion, but enough to destroy the thing.
Yeah, there's enough science-fi this episode for us to overthink the science on it, and that's a good sign.
We always overthink the science.
Well, if there's enough there, the past couple of weeks, there really hasn't been any for us to do that with. So they, like we said, as we just hinted at and alluded to, the Cayuga is destroyed. That's what the Enterprise finds when they arrive at Parnassus Beta, and we get the intro.
And it was just a lovely intro because I just thought to myself, okay, we're going to get an episode about maybe cultural differences of the alien planet where people are like humans. I mean, something we've come across many a time in sort of these sort of episodes of people of indifferences, and then boom, we're getting some J.J. Abrams shit out of the sky. Loved it. It was so it caught me so off guard. Yeah, fantastic. Just to know that we're going in a totally different direction to the premises. I loved it.
They did a really good job of selling the suddenness of the attack and how jarring it was to like the idyllic peacefulness of this like small town type colony. I think it did a really good job conveying the feels it wanted to in that point. So on the bridge of the Enterprise, the crew is calmly distraught. They can't scan or beam down because there's some sort of jamming field. Lon says that it might be a Gorn device. So they're going to watch out for any light or smoke signals, etc. by watching visually. The Gorn hunter ships approach, and we get a message from Starfleet indicating that they've received a message from the Gorn. They send it, and it's a line of demarcation, and the colony happens to be behind it. They also receive orders that the Enterprise is to remain on the opposite side and hold their position.
This is what pisses me off about Starfleet just generally. yeah, all the time. They're the ones who have to play it coy, so to speak. You know, they
Mhm.
can't be. You know, we have to we got to keep people happy and their cultures happy and not be offensive or whatever. They're always having to play that role, whilst everyone else can do what the fuck they want. Like like the Gorn, for instance, who are not really known as a race of being that are very welcoming to people who are different, let alone among themselves. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they let themselves get pushed around a lot and for the sake of not being the aggressors. And I mean, it's good on paper and good, in spirit, they let a lot of their citizens get hurt or killed in said attempt at taking the moral high road. Um, but I don't think Pike wants to do that this week. He calls his senior staff to the ready room where he says that he's ignoring the orders and he's going down there. He says he won't order anybody to go with, but he will take volunteers. His first three volunteers, Spock, Uhura, and Una, though, he feels need to stay on the ship, that their talents are best serve
yeah.
him there.
Like this is the most stupidest thing ever. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna take my two senior officers with me as well. Like, you always need somebody back on the ship in charge, regardless. You
Yeah.
know, it's just I
But
hate
Yeah,
that
but he
when they
didn't
do
take.
shit like that.
Yeah, Pike
No, he
actually
didn't take
did
it.
that
No,
though. So he
he's
left
done that in
them
the
being
past.
smart. Yeah, he
He,
has.
yeah,
Which I
you remember
mean,
season one? Wasn't it?
they've done that on every Trek show though.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the only one they
yeah.
really did a good job at not doing that was TNG. I mean, not most of the time Picard was on the ship while Riker did away missions.
Or
A
vice
few times
versa.
they all went down. But you're right, they did a really good job of not doing it. And Trip didn't go down a lot on Enterprise. Archer
Yeah,
or
Archer and
T'Pol would
T'Pol
be
would
one
go a
or the
lot, but
other.
Trip would be on the ship.
Yeah, but Trip's an engineer.
He's
He's not
third in
even on.
command though.
But he's not on the bridge, is he? Like
He
he's not on
commands
bridge.
sometimes. He's
So he can
Yeah,
be on the. He can
he's
get
the
on the. I
third in
mean,
command.
yeah,
It's not like he has an
yeah,
engineering station though, like later on in the
yeah.
series, like B'Elanna
Um,
had.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Keep going, Mage.
Okay. So the next two volunteers are Sam Kirk and Dr. Mbenga Joseph. They volunteer to go study the Gorn with phasers. Pike has something called Crate 32 beamed in. It contains phasers with upgraded harmonics and scanner upgrades to help them deal with the Gorn. But the question remains of how to get down. On the bridge, Una can't find a course that.
Just about the crate, really quick. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I really wish this would have been something that that La'an and Pike had been working on secretly since their encounter with the Gorn last season. Like, I don't think I don't think it should have been like a Federation thing. I think it should have been something that La'an and Pike were working on secretly on the ship. Like, even rope in like Sam Kirk, because he's a xenobiologist, so he would be able to like, try to figure out how to find the Gorn, with their sensors. It's like, I really feel like this could have been like a really good reveal that, like, hey, this is something we've been trying to work on for a while. Kind of like the Defiant in season 3. It was kind of just like this big reveal that, hey, we've been working on this thing in secret. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole Federation thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, rolling that out to every ship in that quick of a time frame, have developing
Yeah.
these techs that quickly and rolling it out seems a little logistically improbable.
But yeah, I think based on their personal experiences with the Gorn, them working on it, like, not in secret, but like on the side, you know what I mean? Like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, we've been working on these new weapons and these new scanners. Me, Sam Kirk, it,
They not only have the expertise but the motivation to
yes,
do it, especially La'an.
yeah,
I'm just
Okay,
gonna go some comments very quickly.
excellent.
Sorry, we go. I really wanted to see the
yeah.
K the
We already
KU girl.
already read that.
Oh, sorry.
We already read
I'll
that.
let you do it then. I'll let you do it.
Love the black suits, very
Yeah, me
Mako
too.
Black Ops feel to them. Yes, they have those in Discovery though too, right? At least a version of those. They seem very Discovery-esque. I don't mind them. I'm just saying, like,
But it's funny because that was the past, and it felt way more modern than some of the stuff we've seen
That's because this is a different timeline. Technology is different.
Yeah.
James' meteoric rise is pushing Sam into situations where he's going to end up killing him, such as Sam wants to impress his father. Well, I mean, yeah, I love people who hate the. Go ahead. What? Go ahead.
I could definitely see them going that direction with it.
I love how people. I don't think there was any mention in the original series about whether Sam and Kirk were like always buddy or not. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like his brother died and he was distraught about it, but that doesn't mean there wasn't sibling rivalry there. Like everyone's like, oh, they weren't sibling rivalries. There's no mention of it. I'm like, I don't go around telling people that me and my brother have a sibling rivalry whenever we do. You know what I mean? Like, especially if he just died.
Yeah, I think this is more to do with the fact that I can see where Daniel Vance is coming from regarding Jim, but I do feel that this was a more personal thing. Like he was almost coward-like when he first encountered the Gorn, so this time he wants to face his fears,
wants to redeem himself a little bit too.
Yeah. I think it's got a lot less to do with James. I mean, if he does bring up James's name, maybe in a little monologue, if they have a quiet moment next season. But maybe then I'll hold my hand up and say you're right, Daniel. But for now, I do feel like it's just personal redemption.
So there's no course that they're going to be able to take to get down to the planet without going into Gorn's sensor range, according to Una. So we end up with Ortega's making a really clever suggestion to disguise a shuttle as part of the Cayuga's debris and to move her through the field and get down to the planet. Pike tells Ortega, much to her kind of nervousness, that she's going to be flying the mission because she's been badgering him about it, like we've seen earlier in the season. The shuttle manages to sneak through, and on the bridge, Una and Spock observe them head into the atmosphere, noting that they're on their own now.
Just before you move on from that point, I don't understand why this works, only because of like, couldn't they just scan for life signs? Like, I don't understand like how, like, they've done this before in this show and in Star Trek where it's like we'll sneak through the debris, but it's like they can scan for life signs, like unless they like change their shield harmonics and they just don't say it or some techno bullshit. They don't even explain how this works, because you can scan for life signs on a planet, on another ship, even I think even when their shields are up, you can still scan for life signs.
Maybe it's those outfits they're wearing.
Sure,
it could be biodampening, but if we want to, I mean, it could be an oversight.
I'm going to go with that.
They just want us to suspend our disbelief and go with it.
Yeah,
but
that's the little things that just, it doesn't break the show for me, but at the same time, it's just like you can't like mention anything like, hey, yeah, we're wearing like life sign dampening armbands or something stupid. You know what I mean?
A little mention would have been nice. Yeah, I get you.
I didn't realize they covered the hull in the shuttle in the Cayuga pieces until they entered the atmosphere. Yeah, I did notice that too.
That was a cool touch, and it felt a lot like on Firefly.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up.
No, exact, like when they tried to get through reverse space, it was awesome.
They just like they just like strapped all the bodies from the colonists.
It was in Serenity, the movie, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they sneak through the debris field with their disguise for the shuttle, and Ortega, she's going down, and Pike's freaking out, but she re-engages the thrusters at the last second under 1,500 meters, and they land safely. Pike's impressed. He's very impressed with how they evade the scans like this. On the Enterprise, Spock is trying unsuccessfully to find a way around the jamming signal. Una brings up Chapel and how Spock must be worried, and he kind of explains their situation. They zoom in on the saucer section of the Cayuga to try to inspect it visually a little more closely, and they see that the area where sickbay should be is just completely blasted away. down on the planet, Pike and his team approach the structure that's emitting this jamming signal. They see signs of the colonists having fight back as they head their way, and they discuss the possibility of whether or not there were survivors. But before they could discuss this very extensively, they get attacked by one Gorn. They kill it pretty handily, but after Pike says that they need to start looking for signs of survivors, they get interrupted by dozens of Gorn life signs incoming, and they dive into Barber Shop, the only chain of barber shops here on Parnassus Beta. Back on the ship, Uhura goes to Pelia, goes to Hocus Pocus, and asks for help in figuring out how the Gorn are pulling off this signal jamming. She mentions having a crazy idea, and Pelia, in her typical eccentric fashion, declares her love of crazy ideas and asks what it is. In the barber shop, Pike is contemplating the possibility of maybe a peaceful resolution with the Gorn, kind of either, missed opportunity or a misdirection, one or the other, or maybe they're going to resolve it like that next season. He's discussing this with Lon, who thinks that maybe Captain Patel is okay because she's tough enough to deal with the captain. Sam detects humans down the street.
I love your sarcasm there, Mage. I can tell. I can hear your sarcasm in your voice when you say that.
I mean, it's such a cheesy line. It's such a cheesy line.
I don't blame you. I heard it and I'm like, oh god, like Mage did not like that line at all.
As Jelly Eels would say, it was cringe. But
all the people who say it was cringe.
Yeah, I try to not use the term, but call an apple. In the barber shop, Pike is oops, I've said that already. So they have to, they go into this office building trying to look for the survivors. They see gore on the ceiling, and they follow this obvious trail. And Sam Kirk finds this device that's emitting fake life signs. They wind up promptly locked behind a force field by a red-shirted, engineered-minded young man with a Scottish accent. Enter Scotty. He's arrived here after. For it.
Is this actor impersonating a Scottish person, or are they genuinely Scottish? Because I really hope this time around we've got a Scotsman playing Scotty. Because the last two people.
I'll do my due diligence right now.
Don't get me wrong, James Doohan, superb. You almost forget that he's not Scottish, and Simon Pegg was all right, but
this guy is far superior to Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
All right, Cheeto. Did you got it yet, or we can move on?
No, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm trying to get his name. It's not.
So
anyway, but here's my other thing: is like again, they're able to scan for life signs with this dampener up, and yet they couldn't scan it up in orbit. So again,
maybe it acts like a barrier, like a bubble.
No, because they
around the planet.
Well, no, I guess they could scan the other Gorn while they were. I don't know. Okay, go ahead, man. I could dive down in this rabbit hole.
Well, he was using that dampener obviously to throw the Gorn off. I mean,
right. Cheeto's question is how they're able to scan at all inside this dampening field that's working from above the planet from an orbit. I'm thinking that maybe it acts like a barrier. And there's like a the field like.
But they couldn't scan Nurse Chapel on the Cayuga like debris. So it's got to be more than just orbit. God, why can I not find this guy's name?
You could be in a wide ass orbit.
That's
technically,
a really good point.
In my defense, but I might have used the wrong.
Yeah,
term.
Keep going. Yeah. I'll keep looking up this.
I just want to also add, by the way, because like that red line that was shown to show the divide in space, is really fucking stupid because planets are not stationary; they orbit, they move. Yeah, so that line is not going to be there. Eventually, the planet's going to move past that line. Yeah, So
They'll,
I did find that I find that a bit stupid.
stellar
Hello,
cartographers
Jim.
have their work cut out for them. And yep. Hello, Jim.
Sorry, I'm not
So-
looking at the comments right now.
Scotty arrived here after surviving and fleeing the solar research vessel Starfinder. Its crew was killed and it was destroyed by the Gorn. He escaped in a souped-up shuttle and figured out how to hide in plain sight somehow that he doesn't specify yet. Pike asks about the Cayuga crew, and Scotty ends up taking them to a diner. There, Battelle hugs the captain, and she's mad that he came to rescue her. Says that they're not going to be able to get away in a shuttle. Scotty explains, how the circumstances of the Starfinder's destruction, how coronal mass ejections happened, and Sam Kirk theorizes that these could have triggered a consumption cycle in the Gorn, and that's why they're attacking like this. So Scotty, they must get this intel to Starfleet. It could be pretty vital, a way to find a weakness for, or a way to communicate with the Gorn. The way he hid in plain sight was Scotty built a transponder that imitated the Gorn signals, but he got damaged. The ship did, so he was only able to make it this far. So as this discussion takes place, Ortegas goes over and offers to help Dr. Mbenga, who says that he found out that Chapel beamed back to the ship, kind of bumming both of them out. Ortegas ends up doing this Chapel impersonation and saying that Christine does an even better one of her. It's kind of this. I think it was a well acted and touching moment, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean they both are war veterans, so they can relate with each other and stuff like that.
They've got that real bond. We see them hanging out so often; it feels like a relationship we've seen it organically develop on the screen.
Some comments here, by the way. Hailing from Scotland.
Heck yeah.
Quinn.
Daniel Vance is right. He's from Scotland. He's 29 years old. I do kind of call BS though. It's like he's a lieutenant junior grade, and he's supposed to get to a commander. Isn't he a commander in TOS? He's supposed to get into commander in 7 years.
Well, look, let's just say that after what happens here, with survival instincts, that he's going to shoot up the ranks quite quickly. But yeah, hailing from his portrayal of Scott was authenticity and depth, adding a new layer of connection to the iconic character. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind him being on the ship, but I just, it's just a little weird that he's such a low rank. Like, I would figure he'd be a lieutenant,
Well,
maybe he'll make full lieutenant from this, and then, like Zam said, have a meteoric rise a la Jim Kirk.
Yeah, and I just little thing as well, like when Pike was interacting with him, he called him Mr. Scott. I mean, that was always how he was referred to.
It's a nice touch.
Mr. Scott or Scotty and stuff like that. I always find it funny how, just to make people understand in America, this is what I just assume, that they call the Scottish character Scotty. You know what I mean? Because he's Scottish. And so that's why he talks like that. Yeah, but anyway.
So on the Enterprise, Spock sees more Gorn ships arrive on the Gorn side of the demarcation line. Uhura and Pelia arrive, and they've determined the location of the Gorn jammer, and they propose using rockets to maneuver the Cayuga saucer section remains into an orbit that appears to be naturally degrading and eventually fire it at this transponder.
Listen, there was nothing natural about that disintegration.
It just went straight down.
Yeah, it just went straight down. I mean, we'll get to that, but like
there
I was
wasn't
watching
enough
this and
time
I'm
for it
like,
to orbit and act like a naturally decaying orbit.
yeah, no, it flew like a rocket out of orbit.
Yes.
It looked very unnatural.
Spock knew what he was doing. He was the only man who could fucking do it, and that's why he did it.
But it happens without him doing it.
Yeah, I guess. But the whole scene kind of reminded me of First Contact.
Yeah.
It had a lot of First Contact vibes about it as well. Yeah, great stuff.
So that Spock, like you said, he says that he's the only one who can pull this off, that the calculations have to happen at the last second to make the minute adjustments in attitude for the rockets. We cut back to the diner, and Captain Pike wakes up, and he starts to head out to Scotty's shuttle to get this transponder. Captain Patel stops him and says that she's going with. Pike doesn't really object, and then an eavesdropping Scotty says that they absolutely have to have his help to pull this off, as the thing is fused into the console. So Pike gives Scotty a phaser, and they head out. In the Cayuga saucer section, the O2 levels are reaching critical in the air pockets, and we see Nurse Chapel wake up.
By the way, I call BS on this. Like
air pockets, really?
Well, not even that. No, not even that. What is it? The shields, whatever they're called. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but like the damage control shields.
Orions.
Huh?
So you said She-Hulk. So I thought you meant Orions.
No, the shields.
The shields. Sorry, my bad. Deflectors or something.
No, it's when
the
they
force fields.
Yeah, like containment force fields. There we go. Okay, so but Nurse Chapel's the only person on the Cayuga saucer section who survived. You know what I mean? Like it's just
she's the only one that or
she's got the plot armor is basically what it is.
And they threw the saucer section that had at least one survivor on it into the planet without being able to check for survivors, so they ostensibly doomed how many people? Possibly, like they don't know how many people they possibly killed.
God, when you say it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, okay, so Nurse Chapel's the only one who survived out of all of these, and even if they wouldn't have known until after the sensors were down, so it was already destroyed. So, I mean, I get the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, but it's like, that's a bit cold. Like, even if, obviously they could still scan for life signs. So even if it was a distance thing, Spock could have had a tricorder with him and scan for life signs while he was over there. Again, the life signs are the life signs are the problem here. Like with the sensors, like it's so inconsistent. That's the one thing I kept getting hung up on in this episode. Like if they said we scanned it,
I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, and there was no other survivors, but that's because they didn't have, and the fact that it wasn't explained to us doesn't mean that we have to be spoon fed. You know, if there were, you know, they would have probably done their job to look for survivors. They wasn't, especially Nurse Chapel, and that's why they didn't make an issue of it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, she had plot armor regarding her surviving, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, because she's in the original series, even though this is a different timeline.
Yeah, I mean, but it still makes for lower stakes inherently when you have the prequel series, especially when they keep using these iconic characters that they know people love, and there's such a low probability of them actually killing one of them off. Like Chapel is the highest likelihood legacy character, I would say, as far as.
Well, I just don't think they want to repeat all the stupidness they did with Discovery by killing off Culber and all that. So they just don't want to do that. Yeah, well, I mean, they killed Hemmer as well, by the way. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that they keep on putting characters that have no stakes, at least because we know they're not, like, we know it's a different, well, at least for us, it's a different, our opinion is that it's a different timeline. So they could kill Spock, they could kill Chapel, you know, but the fandom would go nuts. So I don't think they're going to do that, even if it is pretty much a different timeline. There's still, I still don't think they're going to do that.
I think the timelines are subtly different because we've already seen Michael Burnham sees Spock deliver that address regarding the Romulans. So
True. But speaking
so
of separate,
Spock lives long enough to do that, if you know what I mean.
if you like kind of where this discussion's going right now, you should stick around till the end of the stream. You should do that either way after hitting subscribe. But we've got a special announcement coming up at the end of this stream, actually.
Oh yeah, we do. But just to piggyback off that point, just not about the timeline thing, but I would have sent I would have sent La'an over. I felt like that moment, and I know La'an was on the planet, but I would have, if I was writing this, I would have had La'an go over to the Cayuga, even though she can't make the calculations or whatever. But I felt like that would have been more of a moment for La'an on the bridge to fight that Gorn and
Would be
kill that
cathartic
Gorn.
for her.
Yeah, it would have been cathartic for her. And I mean, even if you wanted to have her captured at that point, like how we'll get to it later on when they beam all the people off the planet. If they
Just have it right then.
Yeah, if they beamed La'an then to also the Gorn ship, and then you could still have whatever you're going to do over there, But I felt like
PTSD.
Yeah, well, and I feel like Spock was only there because of Nurse Chapel, and she was only there because of plot armor, and that's, as I said, that's another thing that I'm just kind of like, it just irks me. It bugs me. Anyway, good.
Okay,
comments time. Sorry, comments here.
Woo-hoo.
Welcome, Gemini, also known as Dixie. Thank you for your farts. I actually mute mine because I fart all the time. Jimmy says Scott was lieutenant commander, I think, through all 3 seasons of TOS. His sleeves was a one solid band and a broken up band, which is a lieutenant commander. Fair enough.
It's more believable he gets to lieutenant commander within 7 years for the original series. I thought he was a commander, like a Riker commander. Because he was third in command of the Enterprise.
Yeah, he was. Was right into darkness when Kirk and Khan flew through space to the Admiral's ship. God, are we talking? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that moment. That's probably one of the better moments of that movie, to tell you the truth. Plot armor. Cheers, Gemini. All right, that's
the flying in space scene felt a little bit like something out of a magical girl anime to me. That's not inherently a dig. But that was the vibe I was getting. So Chapel heads to a room, and from there she sees Spock out the window. She uses a flashlight that she had found to try to signal the Enterprise with a flashlight. Spock, he begins to attach the retro rockets to various places on the saucer section, as Una observes from the bridge. So Chapel, unable to signal to Spock and get his attention, runs over to a conveniently placed EV suit. On Scotty's crash shuttle, R3
very conveniently placed.
Because she has to go to a different location to get to an airlock to try to get out of the ship. What's an EV suit doing in whatever room this is where she's capable of stabilizing the life support for an hour by just simply plugging in a wire to a console on the wall? But on the ship, they start to work trying to get the transponder unfused. But before they can make much progress, they're attacked by a Gorn. We cut back to on the Cayuga saucer section, and Nurse Chapel runs into her own Gorn. We cut back to on the shuttle, and the Gorn launches itself at Captain Battelle, but then mysteriously doesn't attack. She said it just leaves, and she says to not question it. And they resume their retrieval, and that's good enough. Just don't question. We got lucky. Don't question it, and that's good enough.
No, I knew exactly what that was at that point.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm personally happy that I'm very happy that in a way that Pike didn't just leave it. Yeah, he couldn't let it go any question. And in a way,
but he does.
I'm very happy with. And I'm very happy with the answer, because I didn't want the idea of maybe Patel doing some sort of deal with the Gorn would have fucking been stupid. So the answer we did get was far better.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't try to do
for sure.
Yeah, not do some sort of betrayal thing, especially having brought up the like mistrustful situation just so recently. You would want to build that up over multiple episodes or at least a full episode for something like that to have proper payoff.
Yeah.
So Spock places the last rocket on the bridge of the saucer section for some reason, and it begins to move. But then, very horror movie style, very alien, the Gorn descends from the ceiling behind him, and he slowly moves his hand to the phaser because he somehow senses it. But the Gorn drops down,
No, he
knocks the
saw
phaser from
the
Spock's
tail,
hand.
and he saw the tail in the reflection.
In the reflection, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I must have been looking down to right.
yeah, it was. He
Yeah.
saw the. I mean, and you eventually started hearing it, like the little hissing and stuff.
The
But
click,
no,
hissing click, yeah.
yeah, like he looked at the panel and it was dark, but you could see the tail like coming down.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, now I feel dumb.
No, it's just we all miss things. I mean,
Yeah.
So, the phaser's knocked from his hand, and Nurse Chapel lunges across to try to get to the phaser. She grabs it, turns, and fires at the Gorn, giving Spock the second he needs to break free of the Gorn. He grabs a piece of broken railing and stabs it in through the glass part of the Gorn adult's environmental suit, causing it to depressurize and kill the Gorn. We cut back to the shuttle where the captain can't just leave this.
You know what I find so funny is that because they look like lizards, they have to have sort of similar biology to lizards, and so they're cold-blooded and all of that. And yeah, so being in space and freezing like that, as well as losing oxygen, it's gonna fuck it up instantly.
Yeah, I wonder which one would kill it first.
Yeah.
So on the Pike, he asks Patel what's really going on, says that she needs to trust him with the truth, and she shows her arm where she's been infected with the Gorn eggs. Chapel and Spock, they do their little flying away bit together as the right before the saucer section goes into the atmosphere very quickly after starting this whole process.
and who else thought that? Who else when that saucer section came down thought that Pike, Patel, and Scotty bit the big one? The way they made that explosion look like it like rolled over them, I'm like, did they just kill them? I mean, and then you saw them soon afterwards. But the way they played that, like the way the explosion happened, I'm like, did they just get caught in the explosion? It made no sense, but I'm like, it looked like
that ship landing there where it did from space is a big fucking deal, man. I mean, that's that's a massive impact, which will cause a humongous explosion. Yeah.
So,
and one more thing, by the way, like when Spock and Chapel were holding hands and stuff, I got a very Guardians of the Galaxy sort of vibe. I was expecting something from the '80s to start playing. You know what I mean? Some Elton John song.
Wave.
yeah, as the ship is crashing and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, so the Captain Patel, she wants to sacrifice herself and crash something into this Gorn transponder to buy everybody else the opportunity to get away. Brings up how Himmer did something similar. But before this, they can talk about this much further. The saucer section crashes into the transponder. The comms come back up. Beam ups quickly begin happening. Pike and crew being sent to sick bay. Chapel and Spock are beamed back onto the Enterprise and quickly summoned to their respective stations.
Dano Van says someone somewhere is doing the math on how big the saucer section explosion was. It might be me. Well, we need to get the guys.
Away they would have to be.
Yeah, we have to get the people of Death Battle because they do a lot of that kind of math. Like I'm not good at math. Otherwise, I try to figure it out.
You're our spreadsheet guy, though.
Yeah, I'm spreadsheet. I'm not math. Yeah, and on top of that, how did Scotty was underneath the console? How did he see that?
Good question.
Again, like I'm like, and I don't know, maybe there was a hole somewhere under there or something. I don't know, like a blast hole or something. I don't know. But I'm like, you were underneath there. How did you even see that?
So as they're called away, Spock wants to have a conversation, but Chapel tells him that there'll be time to talk later. There's a happy reunion in sick bay, and Chapel ends up saying, she's not going to give up on Battelle, and we cut to finding out that Scotty and Pelia have history. Hocus Pocus gave him some of the worst grades she ever handed out.
To her best student or something like that.
Yeah, said he was one of her
I
best
was scratching my head over that. Yeah, one of my best students.
It's just
you can be smart and not do well on exams or essays, maybe.
Apparently, she taught the entirety of Starfleet engineering.
Yeah, fair enough.
Aye.
But by the way, this is also I think our engineering baton pass for season 3.
If they make him chief engineer in season 3 as a lieutenant junior grade, I quit. Like that's almost as bad as giving Harry Kim
you're not quitting.
That is as bad as giving Harry Kim leadership of the operations department, and he's a freaking ensign.
Look, the point is that it feels like we are getting engineer swaps every season. This looks like this could be the one for season 3. Hocus Pocus will probably bow out on the episode 1 of season 3. Gives it the ego, Scotty, you earned it. I'm going to go chill, and on some beach planet somewhere.
I'm pretty sure there's 30 people in that engineering department that deserve it more than Scotty does at this point.
Yeah, but he's Scotty.
And if they do that, I'm serious.
To get the whole legacy crew on there this early.
If they Kelvin Kirk this, I swear to God, I'm gonna be pissed. Like if they make Scotty chief engineer just like that, I don't.
Have you not seen Starship Troopers? Like Rico became like bloody captain, by the end of the movie. And
it's Garbo, it's Starship Troopers.
Yeah. God, Starship is awesome, man. People go that film with a lot of discredit, but nevertheless, the sequels were terrible. I'll give you that. But yeah, I mean, Kirk became captain obviously within like a couple of moments. So yeah, this shit happens.
In the Kelvin universe, yes.
This is also a different timeline.
I know, but I'm just saying with the way that command structure works, if you give a lieutenant junior grade or even just a lieutenant, even if he gets promoted, the entirety of the flagship's engineering section, it makes no sense. I mean, I could see maybe him being a lieutenant commander and being like the chief engineer, because that's what Geordi was. That's what technically Scotty was in TOS. What's going to happen?
What's going to happen is Hocus Pocus is going to get killed very early on in episode 1 of season 3. And Scotty's going to have to then run things on his own for a while because he's a badass and he can do shit like that. And then we'll see all these miracles come into work and all of that. And then next thing you know, this guy's just too good to be a junior grade. We're going to promote his ass and give him the big chair as chief engineer.
Hopefully we'll see a more reasonable, makes more sense, in a command structure kind of way, like mentoring of Scotty.
Yeah, I would love to see
that. Would be good.
Now, I would love to see like more of a mentor, like if he's in the show, but he's not like chief engineer. If he's just
right,
even though I don't like Hocus Pocus, maybe she takes him under his wing for.
We've already seen Scotty.
Marrying her to Scotty would make her more palatable.
We've already seen Scotty this episode be very versatile, like the way he escaped the Gorn.
Okay, but here's the thing: is that you don't understand is the fact that you can be as talented as you want, and you still have to pay your dues, and you still have to earn that spot. You can be as talented as you want, but you still can't come in there as a lieutenant junior grade who was
seniority.
Yeah,
is that the hour mark alarm?
Yep.
That is me supposed to charge my car, but
and take his medication.
I was sick today, and so I haven't gone to work, so my car is fully charged.
Well, I hate that you're not feeling well, buddy. We're at the home stretch. We'll wrap
Yeah, go ahead and wrap it, Mage. I could
wrap it up so he can rest. So
Okay.
Pike arrives on the bridge and he orders the beam up of the rest of the team, but there's a problem. They can't find them. There's no life signs. They do find residual transporter signatures. It turns up that all the survivors and the crew have been, beamed over to the Gorn Hunter ships. They attack and they get a message from Starfleet. Admiral April orders an immediate withdrawal by the Enterprise. Una turns to Pike, who looks dumbstruck, and asks him for orders as we get that kind of echoey,
I know what's going to happen.
He's in a haze effect. And he turns around, not answering, and we get the cliffhanger earlier mentioned. To be continued.
What's going to happen is that you're going to get some rebellious Starfleet ships. I think Kirk's going to be one of them. Obviously, he's not the captain, but he will.
The Farragut shows up.
Yeah, I think there's going to be too many Starfleet personnel who just say, we can't let this fly. Our people are being captured by the Gorn. Once again, the Starfleet are bowing down, even though the Gorn themselves were the ones who broke through and started attacking them, and all of that. So technically, obviously, Starfleet did it first, but they're just trying to save their people.
Also, Commodore Boone says, "Hey Sam, go ahead and get 2 Orion women and call Dr. McCoy in the morning." So I don't know if he meant to say Zam or if he's meaning Sam Kirk. I'm guessing Sam Kirk. Oh no, he meant
he means me.
So Zam, go get 2 Orion girls.
Yeah, I will. I'm taking 2 pills right now. That's why I switched the camera off.
All right. So
are they red or blue?
Take us home.
Blue pills, man. Blue pills. I don't do that red pill shit.
All right. So we can do real quick some last thoughts, anything that we haven't had a chance to spit out about the episode so far before giving it marks. We'll do that in one fell swoop per each of us. And then do we want to give the season as a whole its own mark?
I'll let you
pass on that if you guys want to.
Let's pass on that. Maybe we should let this sit for maybe the week after we do our announcement podcast for 2 weeks from today. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can do a recap, or maybe next week we can do a recap. Not that I want to exclude you, Mage, but I mean, we can just talk about, since you've been here all season, we can maybe try to get some other people involved and talk about the whole season as a whole. So, we'll figure it out. But let's just do this episode marks.
Normal marks. Okay, we'll start with you, Cheeto.
I know I've been complaining a lot in this episode, but I really, really enjoyed this episode. Just this stupid life signs thing just really bugged me. But I'm still gonna probably give this a 9 out of 10 because this would have, if they would have just put one line of dialogue in there explaining why they couldn't scan for life signs, or why they could scan for life signs on the planet versus up in orbit, anything, it wouldn't have irked me as much. But I'm gonna give it a 9 just because there was those little gripes in there about it. Plus, Nurse Chapel and her plot armor. I mean, maybe if Nurse Chapel survived and there were a couple other people in that section who survived, you know what I mean? That would be much better. But yeah, just the Nurse Chapel plot armor also annoyed me. So that drops at a mark for me. So yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.
High marks, excellent. Zam, you sir?
The funny thing is that what Cheeto says is totally valid, but I thought the episode was so good that I didn't latch on to those things because I wasn't thinking about them, and that's a testament to a good episode where there are obvious plot holes and plot armor and all of that, but not everyone necessarily thinks about them because the episode itself was so bloody good. I won't give it a high as mark though as Cheeto did. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I did like this episode for what it is, and this is the sort of content I would like from Strange New Worlds, like this level of content, decently paced and at times lighthearted and at times serious and stuff like that. I thoroughly appreciated the sort of bait and switch at the beginning, thinking we're going to get one episode and getting another. I'm not. Sometimes that element works for me, and sometimes it doesn't. This time it did work for me because from getting a generic Star Trek episode, we got something far more Hollywood, a big budget, and on this occasion, I liked it. I liked it a lot, and it's a good way to end a season finale, in my opinion. And
Went out with a
I
bang.
yeah, and I just hope we don't have to wait too long to get resolution to all of this. So yeah,
Hopefully not. Hopefully that was already in the can and it's just waiting on post production. But like you guys, I really enjoyed the episode. The kind of nitpicks that we have, I feel like it's a testament to how good it is that we want to sit there and nitpick it instead of just being like, that was so stupid, and just move on. Um, Great pacing, um, good acting, great suspenseful music throughout, some good cinematography this episode. Um, just like I said earlier, a bit of science, some action, both space pew pews and on the ground pew pews. Just everything you want out of a Star Trek episode, and then a little bit extra with your alien vibes.
I felt like there were really good stakes in this one too.
The
Like,
stakes were there, and even the kind of legacy character things, I was like, how are they going to get Chapel out of this one? I wanted to know how they were going to rescue her, and I'm glad that we had just the whole thing where they basically had given up on her, and they weren't bending over backwards. They were doing what needed to be done for the greater good. um, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9 too, because a lot of those like kind of minor nitpicks that I was agreeing with you on, I didn't kind of catch my first time around. I was just so into it that I was overlooking it and enjoying the episode.
yeah.
Um,
Stephen Vance gives it
just
an
want to
8.
quickly, I
nice.
just want to quickly add that today's the first time we're streaming on Kick as well. So anyone out there on Kick, please follow us because we'll be doing a lot more streaming on this site as well, and
And
hopefully Rumble soon as well. Can't wait to be streaming on Rumble. My goodness.
we're all over the place. We're at Twitch, too, Twitter we stream at, just all over the place, doing all sorts of a variety of content, everything from sports entertainment to Marvel, DC, not only Star Trek but Star Wars too for your sci-fi itch. We do the general discussion live chat every Friday, The World's Gone Insane, where we talk about whatever current events are happening in the week, news-wise, politics-wise, entertainment-wise, and just whatever the chat wants to talk about, and just shoot the breeze, as Zam likes to say. You like to say shooting breeze, right, man?
I think so.
Yep. Um,
Yeah, I do.
but
I say it all the time. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And coming in 2 weeks, now comes our very special announcement. We've been talking for a long time, all season, I think, about how we think that there is another timeline out there in the Trek universe that doesn't get talked about. The First Contact timeline. And we're going to have a very special edition of the Highly Illogical podcast in 2 weeks' time. Here, same bat time, same bat channel, discussing that bit of headcanon that Cheeto and I kind of came to together and kind of been baking in some form or another for years separately, and just kind of agreed on it, and we've come to this like kind of super theory, as it were. So
Yep.
we're really excited to talk about that here in 2 weeks' time. So if you've liked what you saw tonight, or if any of those things that I just mentioned sounds like content that you'd be interested in seeing and hearing more of, consider hitting the subscribe button and hitting that bell icon so you get around the algorithm and get all of our notifications about the plethora of content that comes out here at NerdTube. And
Can
film
you let me know
reactions.
when?
How did I not mention those?
Um, can you let me know when the Commodore review coming out on Strange Signal?
I take it that's the name of the film.
I
Or you
mean,
send us a link, I guess. But yeah, we'll yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what you're on about, but if we send us a
It's
link,
probably a new fan film that he has out called Strange Signal, I guess. I don't know. No, we actually we weren't aware. So, but I mean, if you link us or whatever, we will get to that. So,
yeah,
all right,
I
Mage.
can't wait to get. Sorry, I can't wait to get on Rumble. By the way, those people, they haven't had people like us on there, so I can't wait to get on there and give them a taste of, us, rainbow flag loving, I mean,
People with
motherfuckers.
pronouns in their profile.
Yeah,
The type
exactly.
Robert Beltran's under attack by. Have you seen this? Have you
Yeah,
read about this? Maybe
yeah,
I'll come on tomorrow and we'll talk about Beltran under attack.
yeah.
But no, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. Like I say every week, it wouldn't be a Star Trek review on NerdTube without the two channel owners of NerdTube here with me. I want to thank everybody who's come out for the audience tonight. Daniel Vance, thank you for being back in chat, buddy. We missed you. Thank you for showing up, Jim and Dixie. Um, if you haven't been chatting, you've just been lurking, consider, leaving some sort of comment in the VOD version, or if you come back later and see this as a VOD, let us know your thoughts on the episode and your own ranking in the comments below. You've been watching NerdTube, the best channel you've sort of kind of heard of. Live long and prosper.
Peace and